So you're probably already aware of this, but Arkham Asylum was a massive hit for Rocksteady, both critically and financially. But if there's one thing that everybody can agree on, it's that the boss fights were a bit lackluster. Now we were okay to let this slide in the last game, seeing as the bosses were last second editions anyway, and it's not like Arkham Asylum wasn't the best Batman game at the time. But going into their next game, Rocksteady knew that we weren't going to accept the same Titan boss fight over and over again this go around. A lot of people like to credit Arkham Origins for having the best boss fights in the series, but if you ask me, if it's not that game, then it definitely has to be this one. And as far as what game has the worst boss fights, well, I'll let y'all decide on that one. I'm not about to start pointing any fingers. Arkham Knight. Anyways though, with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into this tier list. First up is Mr. Hammer and Mr. Sickle. And there's a couple of these bosses I'm going to be ranking together just because of how similar they are. These two get a pass for their similarities though, because from a lore standpoint it actually makes sense. You see, before Joker had them surgically removed, they were actually conjoined twins, and he honestly might have nerfed them because if you notice, Mr. Hammer attacks with an overhead and Mr. Sickle attacks with a side swipe. So if you put them together, what the hell else am I going to do other than die? As far as the fights go, there's really not much going on. It's just a generic gang fight with our bosses thrown into the middle. But Mr. Hammer is the first boss you come across in this game, so it makes sense that he can be a little lacking. But in the case of Mr. Sickle, he just kind of fell over and died in my playthrough. So, really got your money's worth there, did you, Penguin? Anyways though, I'm throwing both of these guys into the C tier. Next up, we have the Poison Ivy fight as Catwoman and the Harley Quinn robot fight in the DLC. And to be honest with you, I hate both of these fights. I almost don't even like to call them boss fights because you're actually just fighting a bunch of goons while our bosses stand in the back throwing stuff at us. And you'd pretty much have to go out of your way to get hit by one of Harley's rockets because she cannot aim for shit, and you don't even see Poison Ivy until the last third of her boss fight. I think it might just be disappointing for me because Poison Ivy had my favorite boss fight in Arkham Asylum, so this one's like a humongous downgrade, and I feel pretty comfortable putting both of these in the D tier. Okay, let's talk about something a little positive for a change. How about the Harley Quinn and Two-Face stealth bosses in this game? These are actually two of my favorite stealth encounters throughout the entire series, and it's kind of interesting that neither of them have you playing as Batman. The Two-Face encounter has you playing as Catwoman, as he's surrounded by basically every thug at his disposal, and he's armed with a rocket launcher. If you want a more challenging experience, then you should definitely try taking out all the thugs before Two-Face, but if you want, you can just attack Two-Face when he's alone and end this boss fight as fast as possible. This fight also ends with Two-Face having his fucking timbers shivered like I've never seen before.
Enough with the twos already.
And the Harley Quinn encounter is pretty much the same as the Two-Face encounter, except this time you get to play as Robin, and contrary to popular belief, Robin is cool as shit. So I originally had both of these slotted for the B tier, but now that I'm sitting here thinking about it again, not high enough. Move them up to the A tier. Next up, we have both the Harley and Penguin Titan boss fights, and you just know Rocksteady had to throw a couple of these at us. To be honest though, the Titan bosses are a lot more enjoyable when they're not the only thing being thrown at you in the game. At least half of the bosses in Arkham Asylum were Titan boss fights. In Arkham City, there's 17 bosses and only 2 of them are Titan boss fights. And at this point, Batman's basically a professional when it comes to fighting these things. You see, instead of having to wait for them to charge at us so we can hit them with the Batarang, we can just charge directly at the Titan, cape stun him 3 times, and then give him that Will Smith experience. You actually only fight one of these tanks as Batman though. The other tank you get to fight as Robin in the DLC, and as previously stated, he is cool as shit. So yeah, surprisingly enough, I actually enjoyed the Titan bosses in this game, and I'm gonna go ahead and throw both of them into the B tier. Now let's go ahead and go over what I consider to be the first actual boss of this game. Solomon Grundy. Up until this point of the main story, you've only really fought Mr. Hammer and Mr. Sickle, and both of those are basically tutorial bosses, and then you fight Penguin's Titan Thug, which is nothing we haven't seen before. Now fighting an immortal undead creature that could potentially be hundreds if not thousands of years old, that's something we haven't seen before. And as far as a visual standpoint goes, this has to be the coolest looking thing we've gotten since the Scarecrow sections in Arkham Asylum. Now of course Batman can't just run up and start wailing on this creature, so we gotta take out the electrical platforms that are charging him up, and then we can start delivering the haymakers. The fight also ends with you getting to smack the shit out of Penguin real good, so that's always fun. I think this fight just sets a good tone for what's to come, while also showing us that this isn't just gonna be a Titan party like last time. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put Grundy into the A tier. Man, it just really seems like Rocksteady can't miss right now. I'm sure this next boss will be an S tier, right? Oh, fuck me. And as a matter of fact, fuck you for good measure. Okay, so next up on our list is the Victor Zsasz and Deadshot boss fights. And there's not really anything I can say about these fights that haven't been said before, but there's also not really anything I can say about these fights because they're not even fights. So both of these characters actually have some of the most interesting side missions in this game, but then it eventually leads up to nothing because it's just a 2-second scene where you sneak up from behind them and do a takedown. That's literally the entire gist of it. I don't want to talk about them anymore. F tier. Wait, hold on. No. I was not harsh enough. We're making a new low. We're putting them in the Deadshot and Zsasz tier. Now let's go over the game's final boss, Clayface. And while I don't think he's as good as some of the other bosses in this game, he definitely serves well as the final boss. Now, due to the numerous amount of times I've played this game over the years, I find his first stage to actually be super easy, and I usually just end up only throwing the freeze grenades at him and don't even bother with the bombs in the corner. And from a visual standpoint, I really don't think there's too much going on, but to be honest with you, it is just a giant mud man, so what much could you do? And at first I was starting to think that maybe this was going to be a C or B tiered level boss, but then we get down to the bottom level and he gives Batman a fucking sword and I instantly was sold. Like, excuse me? You're gonna give me, Batman, a ninja assassin, a sword and let me slice and dice my way through the enemies? Yeah, S tier. S tier. Okay, I'll calm down. I'm not gonna put it in the S tier, but I am gonna put it in the A tier. Points included for having one of the greatest twists in gaming history. Next up, we're gonna go over the Mr. Freeze boss fight. And what can I even say about this that hasn't been said before? It's arguably the best fight in the entire series, and I really don't understand why they didn't try to implement more fights like this in all the games. I think it's pretty cool that depending on what difficulty you play on, it changes how many takedowns you're gonna have to do on Mr. Freeze. And if I was on New Game Plus in this playthrough, I might have been screwed because I was already having trouble trying to remember what takedowns I had left. So yeah, this may be a bit of a cold take, but I'm gonna put Mr. Freeze into the S tier. You see what I did there with cold take? I'll go fuck myself. Now let's go ahead and talk about the Joker boss fight in this game. And look, I understand it's not the real Joker and it's actually just Clayface cosplaying as him, but work with me for a second. This is what I feel like a Joker boss fight should be. This is what we should have got at the end of Arkham Asylum, not that giant monster clusterfuck that they tried to throw at us. Just give me regular Joker, throw a bunch of goons at him, and throw a couple specials into the mix. And that's exactly what they do here. They use Mr. Hammer and the Titan henchmen as an anchor for the other thugs to play off of, and then as soon as everybody's out the mix, Joker's easy pickings. So with all that being said, I'm putting this fight into the S tier. Next up, we got the Mad Hatter boss fight. And as far as the side missions in this game go, I feel like this one delivers the best fight. Well, the fight itself really isn't much more than a gang battle, but it kind of harkens back to the Scarecrow missions in Arkham Asylum, giving us some crazy visuals while Batman's in a hallucinative state fighting off the thugs around him. Really just hits home for me. Sometimes simplicity really is just the best option, and I think that shows here. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this one into the A tier. Now last and absolutely not least on my list is the Ra's al Ghul boss fight. This has always been my favorite boss fight in the entire Arkham series, and it probably always will be. This fight pretty much has everything that I've been asking for. It has the crazy visuals, it has some fire gameplay, and it actually has some difficulty to it. And you can't tell me it doesn't, because this boss was the only time I even died in this entire playthrough. I'd argue that after the Joker, Ra's al Ghul is probably Batman's most famous villain, so it's pretty nice for him to have a boss fight this good. I almost feel like I don't even have to fully explain what makes it so good. I mean, just open your eyes and look what I'm showing you. Is this not the sickest shit you've seen? So anyway, if I didn't make it obvious enough already, I'm putting this fight into the S tier. So that brings us to the end of our video. Here's our final ranking on screen. Let me know how much you hate it down in the comments. If you made it this far into the video, go ahead and leave a like and sub for me. It definitely helps me out, and I'll catch you on the next one. Keep it poppin', pussies.